What's up, guys? Your friend Dark Fox 3.0 is back with a brand new fanfic you won't want to miss. Which is, what if Naruto's destiny was rewritten by Haku, Zabuza, Minato and Kushina, turning him into a powerful and alluring shinobi? Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. What the do you want, dipshit? You here to kill me? Huh. To think that you of all people would be the one to do me in. Fate really is a herpes-infested bitch. The foul-mouthed redhead said ironically. She is a beautiful, red-haired kunyuchi, wearing a black tunic over her black shots, the runic tied with a red sash around her waist, no longer preferring the white tunic and the large purple rope belt she used to wear when she was in Orochimaru's elite guard. And how the did your sun-kissed queer find me anyway? How the did you sneak up on me? Why didn't I sense your chakra? Tayuya asked incredulously. So many questions. Okay, I'll answer you. 1. How did I find you? That's pure coincidence. I've been on a so-called 3-year training trip with my master, and we happen to be passing by the land of Moon. We take whatever missions that pique our interest as we go, you know, for money, and for experience. The villagers didn't have any money, but their description of the monsters living in the caves up in the mountain piqued my interest. I never got to see your monsters, but I vividly remember Shikamaru's description of them. Naruto replied casually. He was tall, much taller than Tayuya remembered. Most of his baby fat was gone too, looking like quite the male physical specimen Tayuya had to say. In fact, she couldn't remember ever seeing anyone with a more perfect physique or a more handsome face, even with the weird but exotic-looking whisker marks. Gone was his ridiculous orange jumpsuit, the, Tayuya assumed, former genin, wearing a blue sleeveless top with black ninja pants, white leg warmers, and black ninja sandals, the lack of sleeves revealing his extraordinary physique for the world to see, especially around his arms. On his back was a large sword that was the size of his body, a sword that suspiciously looked like the Kubikiribocho, and Tayuya would know, after all, being a former elite guard of Orochimaru, it was her job to know about all of the most dangerous ninja in the world and their signature weapons and signature jutsu. The blonde brat, handsome young man was not wearing his forehead protector, which surprisingly made him look even more handsome. He had a tattoo of some sort on his forehead, which was blue in color and was the shape of a pyramid. He had a brown weapons pouch on his left leg and didn't seem to be wearing any gloves or anything on his hands. Overall, he looked very handsome. So I left quite an impression on that weak piece of shit, huh? I wish I had left a much deeper mark on him, with his own kunai deeply embedded into his throat, and I would have too if it wasn't for that blonde wind-styled bimbo from Suna. Tayuya said angrily. Yes, Shikamaru mentioned that part 2. Apparently you were about to overpower his shadow possession technique and kill him were it not for Tamari-chan's arrival. Naruto retorted. Damn right I was. Anyway, what the did the villagers tell you? My doki haven't hurt anyone. I made sure of it, that's the whole point of keeping a low profile. I chose a village I knew couldn't afford to hire any shinobi, and made sure not to harm anyone because I didn't want them panicking and running around asking for help. My doki take the bare minimum of essentials from them, just enough for me to survive. So what the? Tayuya asked angrily. As I said, pure coincidence. My curiosity was piqued, that's all. As for why you didn't sense me coming, it's called the chakra extinguishing technique, it's sort of a bloodline limit. Naruto explained. No, it's not. I can do that shit too. I just don't do it because when I do, I also can't sense other people coming. It's a double-edged sword like that. Tayuya retorted. As I said, a bloodline limit technique. Naruto deadpanned, giving Tayuya a meaningful look, who on the other hand was looking at Naruto like he was the stupidest person she had ever met, until realization finally settled in, her eyes widening in surprise as a result. You tryna say I'm related to you? Outta here. No way I'm related to a stupid piece of shit like you. Tayuya exclaimed indignantly. This is a picture I drew of my mother. Naruto said as a seal appeared on his left forearm and glowed briefly, releasing something with a puff of smoke, an A3, framed portrait appearing in Naruto's hands as he grabbed it and made it face Tayuya. Tell me, Tayuya-chan, does she remind you of anyone you know? Naruto asked rhetorically, Tayuya staring in awe at the beauty of the woman, but more importantly at the brilliant red hair that reminded her so much of her own. Okay, your mom is a babe, and I like her hair, so what? It's not like I'm related to every redhead in the elemental nations. Tayuya countered. I have the ability to detect a person's nationality and familial relations with my chakra sensing ability alone. I know for a fact you are my cousin. I didn't know it back then when we first met, my sensing skills were untrained and underdeveloped, but I know it now. Perhaps your sensory skills aren't as good as mine to that effect, but I know they should be at least good enough for you to separate lies from the truth. Naruto retorted, leaving Tayuya speechless as he was absolutely right, she did know how to discern the truth with her chakra sensing abilities, and she had discerned no lies whatsoever thus far. Ha 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 ha. Ah ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. I see, so you're not here to finish what you started almost 2 years ago. It's sad really, part of me was hoping you were. I mean, who wants to live the rest of their life as a cripple? Tayuya retorted. I did notice that your legs had atrophied. Tamari-chan sure did a number on you, didn't she? You need not worry though. I can heal and regenerate your legs easily, but it will take some time before you get back to full strength again. After some time training with me, you'll be able to heal your injuries on your own. You are an Uzumaki after all. You just need to further activate your bloodline abilities. Naruto retorted. What the actual? You mean all this time, I could have healed myself all along? Tayuya asked incredulously. Pretty much. Naruto laughed, his smile so beautiful, genuine, and infectious that Tayuya, despite wanting to get angry at him, just couldn't muster the strength to, finding herself laughing alongside with him. So what are your terms and conditions? Tayuya asked warily. Nothing. After our training together is complete, you can go wherever you want and do whatever you want. However, I would be honored, and happy, if you could go back to Konoha with me and help me to rebuild the Uzumaki clan and bring it back to its glory days. This of course is entirely up to you, you are under no obligation. All I want for you is the best for you. Naruto explained, Tayuya looking at him with a very serious and suspicious expression, yet once again unable to detect any lies. He has no reason to lie. The chakra extinguishing technique enabled him to close the distance on me without alerting me. From this distance, he can easily get to me before I play my flute or summon my doki. And without my legs, I'm literally useless and helpless in a close-range fight. Why ask me and give me a choice when he can just take what he wants? Tayuya thought confusedly. You have great power, I can tell just by looking at you and reading your chakra. You always had a ridiculous amount of it, but it's now far more potent and far more controlled and focused. In fact, it seems like you have fully reined it in. I'm sure you have loads of new jutsu that you have developed since then, you could take whatever you want from me. So why ask? What would you do if I rejected you and told you to go away? Tayuya asked skeptically. I would heal your legs, even if I have to do it against your will. However, that is the only thing I would do against your will, apart from paying you a visit every once in a while. Naruto retorted, at this point Tayuya starting to realize that the blonde-haired enigma was completely different from anyone she ever met before, and definitely the complete opposite of Orochimaru. I see, Tayuya replied with a thoughtful expression. Good. So what will it be then? Naruto asked curiously. I accept all of your terms. I will go back to Konoha with you and help you to rebuild our clan. However, there is something that makes me weary. I'm not certain how safe it is for me to conceive children for you, because of the cursed seal. I'm not sure what effect that will have. The only reason Orochimaru had been unable to track me down and probably doesn't know that I am alive is because I haven't used it since my fight with your stupid genius friend. As long as I have this seal, I am concerned that his influence over it might affect our children somehow. Tayuya replied, much to Naruto's shock, not having realized the possible interpretation of his words. He had only been asking her to come and live with him as a family, as cousins. He hadn't realized that with another interpretation, his words could mean that he wanted to start a family with her. However, now that he knew that is what she thought, and that is what she was determined to do with him, he didn't think that he could retract his words without deeply offending her. Did he really just propose marriage to a girl without even knowing it? Just how crazy was his life? Well, I also happen to be both a medical expert and a seal master. One of my late frenemies, Yuki Haku, left me all of his and his master's jutsu in hopes that I would continue their legacy. I didn't use the scrolls at the time because I felt unworthy of their legacy. It wasn't until I got desperate, when I realized that my master wasn't taking my training seriously at all, that I began to read those scrolls. I learned a lot about medicine and seals from them, knowledge that I have gone on to further expand upon. Naruto explained, leaving out for now the part about meeting his dad inside his Jinchuriki seal and how his dad passed on his knowledge to him. I see, and this frenemy was a student of Momochi Zabuza. Tayuya asked curiously. What? How did you know? You knew him? Naruto asked shocked. No, but it explains why you carry the Kubikiribocho. Your sensei was Hatake Kakashi, right? If you defeated Zabuza's apprentice, then it could only mean Kakashi was the one who defeated Zabuza. Tayuya discerned. Yeah, pretty much what happened, more or less. Naruto deadpanned. I see. Okay, heal my legs, dipshit, and do something about my cursed seal. Now, before I change my mind. Tayuya said with a bossy attitude. Yeah, sure. In a minute. I gotta report to my friend these developments. I'll be right back, okay? Naruto said excitedly. I thought you said you were here with your master or whatever. Tayuya asked suspiciously. I can see how you could have misinterpreted my words like that, but no, that's not what I said. I said I was on a 3-year training trip with my master. I didn't, however, say I was traveling with him right now. I deserted him about 6 months into the trip. I send messages to him every once in a while via toad summoning to let him know I'm still alive and well, but I have no interest in traveling with someone that's only holding me back. I've done much better without him. So for the next 12 months, it will be just the 3 of us. Naruto responded. Who is your friend, dipshit? It better not be that emo bastard Uchiha. Tayuya said angrily, an anger that was really merely a disguise for her insecurity. Her name is Fu, she's the Nanabi Jinchuriki. I went to her village to warn them about Akatsuki and to share with them the information I had about some of its members, and their former member Orochimaru. Instead of increasing protection over her like I hoped, they responded by banishing her. They said that if just one former member, like your former master, Orochimaru, had the strength to challenge a village like Konoha and kill the Hokage in the process, then they dread to think what would happen to their small village if they challenged an entire organization of Orochimarus. Naruto explained with a hint of incredulity in his tone. So you decided to take responsibility for her? Well, I suppose technically it was your fault, although you only sped up what was already inevitable. Tayuya thought analytically. Perhaps, but I think you and her will be great friends. I think we're all going to get along really well. Naruto said with a genuine smile. Why the hell don't you hate me? Dipshit. I'm the evil wench who attacked your village and helped Orochimaru trap and defeat your cage. I'm also the evil wench who kidnapped your best friend and took him to Orochimaru for the snake pedophile to feast on his body. But you're also family. Family doesn't give up on each other. Family sticks together. Naruto said with a loving smile. Hey, if that's what you really think, then you're an idiot, which means you need me even more than I thought to protect you from everyone else exploiting your idiocy. Tayuya said smugly. Sure, if that's your way of saying that you're starting to warm up to me. Naruto said, winking at Tayuya before running out of the cave. I'll be back soon with Fu-chan. You're going to like her. Naruto shouted as he waved at Tayuya, tears falling from her eyes as she smiled warmly, unable to believe that fortune could actually smile at her so brightly, as she had never experienced its smile whatsoever in her 16 years alive. 12 months later. So let me get this straight, your son of a bitch of a sensei, who has allegedly been searching for you for 2 years, is 5 hours late for our rendezvous with him. But, for some reason, we are supposed to believe that he has spent this entire time looking for you. Tayuya asked incredulously. She was much healthier and much stronger now. After all, 12 months was a very long time. Naruto had fixed her cursed seal problem, which was a simple matter of removing Orochimaru's partial soul from her cursed seal. Simple in principle, that is, because in reality it was a very complicated process that required a complicated ninja art, namely, sealing techniques, as Orochimaru, not unexpectedly, had made his soul's presence a key function of the seal. Tayuya didn't want to lose the cursed seal powers, but had wanted to lose only Orochimaru's influence and connection to it. Naruto had agreed, as he had explained to her that the cursed seal was actually a form of Sennin mode, which explained the massive boost in senses and abilities when it was used. Naruto had told her that she had two choices. If she wanted to continue to have access to the powers of the seal, then she either had to let him sever a part of her soul and use it in the place of Orochimaru's soul, or she had to give him time to find a way to reconfigure the seal so that it doesn't need a soul to control its functions. Fortunately for her, Naruto was too much of a genius for his own good, as he had taken only half a day to figure out how to reconfigure the seal. So as of now, she was a cursed sage mode user. What made things better was that she was far less restricted in her usage compared to before. Naruto had told her that, as an Uzumaki, she had the potential to master sage mode without the aid of a sealing technique, that she could access it and control it on her own. So Naruto had taught her how to do it, and now she could sense and gather sage energy on her own. However, due to the drawbacks of that, such as the fact that she would have to stand still for a while and couldn't gather more of it while fighting, it was decided that it was better that her cursed seal act as a storage device instead, from where she could draw a nigh unlimited amount of cursed sage mode energy from. That wasn't the only thing that had changed, as Naruto had taught her the shadow clone technique. She used this technique to seal clones of herself into her doki, and Naruto taught her another seal that she used to link her mind to the clones inside the doki so that she could issue mental commands to them instead of playing her flute to control them. This made things a whole lot easier for her and also made her doki's movements far more unpredictable. Finally, her sound release. Naruto had encouraged her to find new ways of using sound release and told her that, when she became a true master, she would be able to do anything with her ability to manipulate vibrations and sound, same way he was able to do anything with his wind release, to the point that he could even fly. At the time, it had irked her to no end that she was the only member in the team who couldn't fly, as Fu could fly with the wings of her Biju and her particle release. However, with a lot of hard work, pain, and suffering, she had figured out how to fly using her ability to manipulate vibrations, which earned their team the moniker of the Flying Ninja Squad. Money and food. That was not a problem at all, not with Naruto's Mokuden ninjutsu. All they did was sell fruit and vegetables to the biggest hypermarkets in the elemental nations and they become billionaires in a very short time. Not to mention the timber that they sold to construction and furniture companies. Tayuya could honestly say that she understood how Konoha easily became the most successful and richest ninja village of all time with Hashirama Senju as their founder. Still, she didn't understand why Naruto wanted to keep his Mokuden a secret, especially since he wanted to be the next Hokage. That alone would boost his chances exponentially, although on the other hand she kind of understood as maybe he wanted to truly feel that he earned it as opposed to getting it simply because of his bloodline limit. I do not actually care that he is late, or if he really was searching for me or not. As you already know, our plans are far bigger than that. I just hope that Tsunade-sama will approve our application as soon as possible and allow us to enter the Chunin exams in Kumo. I want to be a Jonin by the time I return to Konoha, and I want you guys to be in my team. Naruto replied. Yeah, I can't believe that I, an elite Jonin, am gonna be a genin again, like what the? That totally sucks balls, man. Tayuya said incredulously. You would know, given the fact that you have Naruto-sama's balls permanently lodged deep down your throat. Fu said with a playful but mocking tone, seemingly taking pleasure and great entertainment from riling up her redhead friend. Fu is a beautiful, petite, tan-skinned kunoichi, wearing an orange clip in her short, layered mint green hair that matches her orange eyes. Her ninja outfit consists of a short sleeveless white midriff shirt with fishnet armor underneath, long white armlets, and fishnet shorts with a short white apron skirt over it. Her forehead protector is worn on her right arm. What the did you say to me, you ugly? You bastard. You. At least I have his balls down my throat. Better than having your tongue permanently lodged deep into his asshole. Tayuya retorted, causing Fu to laugh heartily in response, enjoying the insults thrown at her far more than any normal person should, Naruto releasing an audible sigh, unable to believe that he hadn't completely lost his mind hanging out with these two psychos 24/7. What? Are we boring you? Dipshit. I didn't hear you say that when you were ejaculating your rotten semen inside of me last night. Tayuya said, Naruto not knowing whether to laugh like a madman or be insulted by Tayuya's behavior, eventually settling with a nostalgic smile as ultimately, he realized, he wouldn't choose to have it any other way, because no matter how crazy these two psychos were, they were his psychos. Forgive me for my poor timing, my love. I was just thinking that the messenger toad must have delivered our message by now. I'm just a little anxious, that's all. Naruto replied. What will happen if she rejects us? Or if the requirements for amnesty are too unreasonable? Fu asked with concern. Then I defect and become a missing ninja. Meanwhile, back in Konoha, Sakura didn't know how to feel. Livid, definitely. How dare Naruto form another team, with two beautiful women of all things? What about his promise to her? What about his promise to save Sasuke-kun from Orochimaru and rebuild Team 7? How was he going to do that when he was forming a new team with foreign? How was he going to do that when he was replacing Kakashi-sensei with Jiraiya-sama? She knew it. She knew this would happen. She had begged Tsunade-sama not to let Naruto leave the village with Jiraiya. She had told Tsunade her fears, that Naruto might not be the same when he returned, that something bad might happen. But Tsunade Shishio had not listened, and now look what had happened. As for Naruto, she was going to strangle him and chop his balls off when he returned. He was going to pay for this betrayal. She was going to make him beg her for forgiveness. This was unacceptable, completely, utterly, unacceptable. You have all heard the contents of Naruto's letter. You have all read the profiles that Naruto supplied of his prospective teammates for the Chunin exams. I chose to share this information with you because you all went to the academy together with Naruto, most of you at least. Neji, Lee, Tenten, you graduated a year earlier, but you have had some experience working with and even fighting against Naruto. I want to hear all of your opinions. Unacceptable. Tsunade-sama, you cannot allow this to happen. Naruto belongs to Team 7, he cannot be allowed to form a new team, especially one with foreign whores, foreign kunoichi. One of them is an enemy who helped Orochimaru kill Sandaime-sama and also kidnapped Sasuke-kun for Orochimaru. She almost killed Shikamaru if it wasn't for Temari-san. This is unacceptable. Sakura exclaimed angrily. Thank you for your input, Sakura. Your passionate protest will be taken into consideration in my decision, but I was actually planning to ask Shikamaru to speak out first, seeing as he is the one who has the most experience with fighting or interacting with Tayuya of the North Gate. Tsunade replied. Oh, Gomen, Shishio. Sakura apologized sheepishly, even though she was cursing up a storm on the inside, unable to understand why this inquisition was even necessary as she felt that the decision was an obvious one. Troublesome. What can I say? Well, if this were a normal person we were talking about, I would say we absolutely cannot trust Tayuya. Orochimaru aside, she was the most sadistic, merciless, and heartless person that I know of. She didn't care when she thought her comrades were killed, in fact she seemed thrilled by the news. She enjoyed killing way too much to be considered a decent human being. Shikamaru trailed off, causing a wicked smile to appear on Sakura's facial features. However, Hyuga Neji-san was a really cruel and heartless guy before he met Naruto, look at him now. I won't even mention Lord Kazekage Gaara. That guy was a living nightmare, and Naruto somehow earned his respect and love, and now they are the best of buddies, and Gaara is the nicest guy you'll ever come across. If he could change those guys to this extent, then I imagine he must have done the same to Tayuya, and if he has, then she is now an extremely powerful and valuable asset. Shikamaru said much to Sakura's chagrin, unable to believe the level of stupidity that Shikamaru just wasted 5 minutes of her life spewing, and they call this guy a genius. No way. Interesting. And you, Hyuga Neji, you briefly interacted with Tayuya in the Sasuke retrieval mission, what do you think? Tsunade asked curiously. I agree with Shikamaru. It's true that not everyone can be changed, but having interacted with both Naruto and Tayuya, my experience tells me that Naruto is capable of achieving anything he puts his mind to. If anyone could have reached Tayuya's heart and change her, it is Naruto. Neji deadpanned. Kiba, are you in agreement? Tsunade asked curiously. Those Sound 5 bastards were strong and ruthless, but I would expect nothing less from Orochimaru's students. Anyone would turn out like that if they were subjected to Orochimaru's cruelty and madness in their childhood. But I trust Naruto, believe in him even. If he says she's legit, then she's legit. Kiba replied. I agree with Kiba, Neji, and Shika, Hokage-sama. If Naruto trusts her, then I trust her too. Choji said earnestly. That doesn't mean anything. She still kidnapped Sasuke-kun and helped Orochimaru trap and kill Sandaime-sama. She is guilty of those crimes whether she has changed or not. Sakura argued passionately. True, but in his letter, Naruto made it clear that she will atone for her crimes by providing all the information she has about Orochimaru, including his contacts and his secret bases. She has also vowed to fight against all of Naruto's enemies alongside him. From what I hear, Naruto and Sandaime-sama had a grandfather-grandson relationship. If she has sworn an oath to protect what is essentially Sandaime-sama's grandson, then is she not making up for her crimes? Shino retorted, causing veins to literally pop up on Sakura's forehead. Oh, just like that, huh? You all vouch for this criminal. I didn't know that you all hated me that much. What have I done to you? Huh? Please tell me, because I'd like to know. Sakura asked, much to everyone's confusion as they didn't understand what the hell she was talking about. Sakura, what has led you to this conclusion? Kakashi asked, confused. Don't you dare play dumb, Kakashi sense. Look underneath the underneath. Remember your own lessons. What do you think will happen to Team 7 if that evil criminal wench is accepted into the village? Don't you see what's happening? You're being replaced with Jiraiya-sama, I'm being replaced with that evil psychopathic wench. And Sasuke-kun is being replaced by this Fu person. Team 7 is being disbanded, and everyone here is supporting that decision. So I ask again, what have I done to you that you would actively try to sabotage my team? Sakura asked furiously, stunning everyone in the room into silence, some of them looking down and unable to meet her gaze as they were ashamed of the fact that they didn't even think about what all of this could mean for Sakura. Don't you think you're overreacting a little too much, Sakura? Naruto is a complete idiot, but he would never ask to switch teams. He would never abandon his loved ones. Tsunade retorted. No offense, Hokage-sama, but aren't you being a little naive? Naruto made it clear at the end of the letter that he wanted you not to allow any emotional attachments you might have to him or anyone else to affect your decision, but for you to make a logical, impartial decision. In fact, he made it a point to emphasize that request. Don't you think that that is because he anticipated the reaction of your apprentice? Also, if you say Naruto would never abandon his loved ones, doesn't that apply to Fu and to Yuya as well? Clearly, based on the letter, and the nature of the request itself, he is very much attached to these two young women. Kurenai retorted eloquently, causing a deep frown to appear on Tsunade's facial features. Damn it, Kurenai, I think you might actually have a point. Tsunade said warily. You can't. Tsunade-sama, please. You can't do this. Sakura pleaded. I don't want to, Sakura, but Naruto has been gone for 2.5 years, and has spent a lot of that time with these two young women. You guys might have not noticed, but Naruto has no family here in Konoha. He doesn't even have real friends. He has teammates, yes, but no friends. I have to make a decision that is best for the village, and denying Naruto this opportunity could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. The last thing we need is another talented young ninja deserting the village. Also, Naruto wants to be a Jonin by the time he gets back, and there are only 6 months left before he returns. So not only would I be denying him the chance to be with loved ones, but I would also be denying him the opportunity to become a Chunin and take another leap towards his lifelong dream of becoming Hokage. Besides, there is no actual guarantee that Naruto wants to change teams, it's just speculation at this point. He might actually just want a team to help him qualify to enter the Chunin exams in Kumo. Tsunade retorted, much to the horror of Sakura as she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Tsunade-sama, I thought you weren't supposed to allow emotional attachments to affect your decisions. Sakura asked tensely, feeling like her sensei's emotional attachment to Naruto was affecting her decision-making. Exactly. I have to make the decision that best suits the village. 2 Jinchuriki is military advantage we cannot allow to pass us by, and the bonus of another elite Jonin level ninja in Tayuya just puts a massive cherry on top of the deal. Also, we cannot afford to lose the Jinchuriki we already have either. Tsunade replied. Tsunade-sama, what exactly is a Jinchuriki? Naruto mentioned it in the letter, saying that Fu is a Jinchuriki just like himself. What exactly is that? Kiba asked the question that everyone of the Rookie 12 were wondering but too embarrassed to ask. A demon container, more specifically, a tailed beast demon container. Naruto is the host of the 9-tailed demon fox, and Fu is the host of the 7-tailed demon. Jinchuriki are safeguards against the Biju running amok and destroying everything in their path, but they are also military assets as they have the potential to harness the power of the beast inside of them and use it in battle. Part of the reason Naruto is being trained outside of the village is so that he can learn to harness the power of the 9-tailed demon fox without endangering the village should he lose control to the beast. Tsunade explained much to everyone's surprise and horror, apart from the senseis of course, but also Neji and Shikamaru, who seemed to have already known or at least had suspicions about Naruto. What? Naruto is a demon? Impossible. Sakura exclaimed in surprise. He's not a demon, he's just its container. I'll admit, that can change if he were to ever be defeated in the never-ending battle between container and host for control. However, I believe in Naruto, 100%. I have no doubt that he will one day be able to completely tame the 9-tailed fox. The 4th Hokage was a wise and intelligent man. He knew what he was doing. Tsunade said passionately. Does Naruto know? Does he know there is a demon inside of him? Sakura asked with a betrayed look in her eyes. Yes, he does. Also you and your peers should know that Naruto's status is an S-ranked secret, not to be revealed to anyone under the penalty of death. Only the Hokage, namely, me, and Naruto himself may share this information with anyone else. Tsunade declared gravely, causing everyone of the Rookie 12 to swallow audible gulps. So, basically, you're saying Naruto knew all this time what he was, and could have told us, but chose not to. He didn't even trust his own friends with this information. Kiba asked with a deep frown. I'm sure he had his reasons for not telling you. It is an S-ranked secret after all, that is not something you disclose to others lightly. Tsunade retorted. I need time to process this. Sakura said as she ran out of the office before anyone could stop her. Oi, Sakura. Leave her, Kakashi. She's going through a lot right now. She needs time to process the whole thing. Her whole world is unraveling, at least, a large part of it is. Tsunade said somberly. You're going to be in quite a pickle yourself, Hokage-sama. You seem to have a close bond with Naruto, but you obviously have a close bond with Sakura too, after all, she is your apprentice. Whether you pick a side or remain impartial in what I assume will be a big dispute between them when Naruto returns, you're probably going to look like you're picking sides to the one your decision doesn't favor. Asuma warned with a grave undertone. Not to mention, from what I have heard from Lee, they're both people with very strong flames of youth. Guy added, everyone assuming that he meant that they are very stubborn and emotional people when he said flames of youth, though one can never be sure about the translation as Guy seemed to honestly find any excuse to use his favorite catchphrase. If I'm going to end up becoming the villain anyway, then I suppose this means I'll have to harden my heart and do what is right for the village, irrespective of whether someone likes my decision or not. Tsunade said with a thoughtful expression. Which means, Kakashi trailed off with concern. I will accept Naruto's request. I'll admit I am worried about him going to Kumo given our history and the fact that we have no alliance or peace treaty with them. It's very dangerous territory. However, they have two Jinchuriki and Jiraiya, and this to Yuya seems like a genius shinobi in her own right if she was Orochimaru's elite guard at such a young age. She also has full control over the cursed seal. They should be able to handle whatever comes their way. Tsunade said with concern. I see. Well, I suppose we'll have to wait and see. There is nothing else we can do. However, supposing everything goes well, Naruto returns to the village, and as suspected, requests to form a new team with Jiraiya-sama and the two foreign girls. What will happen to Sakura and I? Would our team be disbanded or will you seek to find replacements for Sasuke and Naruto and have us continue as a team? Kakashi asked with concern. What's wrong, Kakashi? You worried about losing all of your students? Asuma asked. I am, but more for Sakura than for me. I've already lost an entire team to death, so even if I lose another one, at least they're all still alive. So for me, it's not the worst case scenario. However, Sakura doesn't know the feeling of losing an entire team. It's the same as losing a chunk of your family. Also, as much as nothing is worse than death, being abandoned can potentially be just as painful, maybe even more so. Kakashi explained his reasoning. You're referring to the fact that both Naruto and Sasuke would have willingly and consciously chosen to leave her to be with other people. That would not only be painful but would be a huge blow to her self-esteem. She will need you and I now more than she ever did before. We'll have to be there for her, to remind her that there are still those who value her. To that end, I might have to form a new team for you just to keep you together. Tsunade replied thoughtfully. There might be another solution, Hokage-sama. Neji spoke with that ever calm and serene tone of his. Another solution? What is it? Tsunade asked eagerly, in fact everyone eager to hear what possible solution Neji could have come up with. Reform Team 7, with Naruto as team captain. He mentioned wanting to be a Jonin by the time he comes back, did he not? So, make an excuse to relieve Jiraiya-sama of his duties to the team, and replace him with Sakura-san, with Naruto, as a Jonin, becoming captain of the team. Neji suggested much to Tsunade's surprise. That's a very good idea, the thought never even crossed my mind. However, Naruto cannot actually become a Jonin by the time he returns. Jonin exams, unlike Chunin exams, can only be taken internally. Naruto would have to first return to the village before taking them. Also, an application is never approved immediately. You have to have been a Chunin for some time so that your achievements as a Chunin can be documented and your abilities assessed before an informed decision can be made. Naruto and Jiraiya aren't exactly doing any official missions and the ones that they do take on their journey are not reported. Tsunade explained. There are other ways, are there not? Someone can become a special Jonin if they have an especially powerful or efficient technique that makes up for their lack of experience or for the fact that they haven't ticked all the boxes. It can also be awarded to someone who has achieved a Jonin-level feat, such as defeating a Jonin-level opponent in single combat. Neji retorted. All of which are possible, but have yet to occur, or might not occur. Besides, with my well-known relationship with Naruto, it would be difficult to grant him any special promotions without it looking like I was biased. Naruto himself probably wouldn't accept it, he would probably see it as a shortcut. Tsunade argued. There is another, rare, alternative. One can be promoted to join by recommendation from a rival village leader. Who knows, perhaps Naruto-kun will do something to impress Raikage-sama during his stay in Kumo. Shizune replied. Precisely what I am hoping doesn't happen. The last thing I want is for Naruto to catch the eye of that man. He's more likely to try and kidnap Naruto than to recommend a Jonin promotion for him. Tsunade said, biting her teeth nervously. Arg. Whatever. I need a drink. You're all dismissed. I'll figure this shit out later. I need time to think. Tsunade said in frustration. 1 week later. I cannot believe you convinced Tsunade Heim to accept this ludicrous request. Your powers of seduction have surpassed even mine own. Jiraiya said as they got nearer to the gates of Kumogakure no Sato. You have no seduction skills to speak of, you perverted old fart. Tayuya said indignantly. Ha, you're just too young and inexperienced to appreciate my high-level skills of seduction. Jiraiya retorted. Ha, sleeping with whores that you have to pay to sleep with you doesn't qualify as seduction, you imbecile. Tayuya counter-argued. Ho 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 ho. My beloved apprentice, are you really going to let this young, rowdy lady speak to me so callously? Jiraiya asked with a mock-hurt tone and expression. I don't see you speaking up for me when she's on my case, so no, I think I'll let you handle this one on your own. Naruto shrugged. Truth be told, Jiraiya was very unhappy and disappointed, and he was also very sad, because he no longer trusted his godson. Not only had Naruto disappeared on him for the majority of their training trip, but his inability to track him down, he, the Toad Sannin, the greatest spy and detective in the world, unable to track down a genin, really had him concerned. There was no way Naruto had eluded him on his own, there was no way he was that smart and that skilled, certainly not at the time. The only way it was possible was if someone had been helping him. But who? Who could have gotten close to Naruto without him noticing? Of course, Jiraiya had no idea that the people who helped Naruto were long dead, namely, Momochi Zabuza, Yuki Haku, and Namikaze Minato. Using scrolls he found in Zabuza's hideout 3 years ago, Naruto had trained himself to the ground before defecting. Those skills had given him the knowledge and skill to evade Jiraiya. After all, Zabuza had evaded the famed Hunter Nin squad of Kurigakure for well over half a decade. When he later tried to control the Kyuubi's chakra and lost control, he had met his father in the seal, who had also imparted a ton of knowledge for him to improve his skills, knowledge and training that had led him to discovering more of his bloodline abilities. Furthermore, Naruto had later met his mother in the seal, when he used his chakra chains to take full control of the Kyuubi, and she had also passed down her knowledge to him. So yes, Naruto had help, but not in the way Jiraiya thought he did. I'm sensing a lot of strong chakra signatures near the gate. Tayuya said, interrupting Jiraiya's train of thought. It's Iwa and Kurigakure shinobi, 2 4-man teams. They must be here for the Chunin exams, even though they are all way too strong to be genin. Naruto retorted. How can you tell that from here? They aren't even visible yet. Jiraiya asked, confused. Naruto-kun is the best chakra sensor in the elemental nations. He can tell family relations and geographic relations from his sensory skills alone. Fu replied on Naruto's behalf, much to Jiraiya's surprise, as he didn't even know Naruto had any chakra sensing potential. You can tell which nation someone is from by just sensing their chakra? Jiraiya asked incredulously. More or less. It's easier when they are in group. Most Iwa shinobi are Earth-style users, and even those who aren't born with an Earth affinity will be forced to develop an Earth affinity. So when you see a team of 4, and all of them can use Earth style, then it becomes obvious that they are from Iwagakure no Sato, doesn't it? It's the same with Kurigakure and Water style, and Kumogakure and Lightning style. Naruto explained. So what you can actually sense is the chakra natures that a person can use. That's still a level of sensory perception that I have never heard of. Jiraiya thought out loud. They have sensor types too. They have detected us, and it seems to be the reason why they are waiting at the gate. They must have sensed the strength of our own chakra and have identified us as potential threats. Naruto said gravely. These Chunin exams are already turning out to be more trouble than they're worth. Are you absolutely sure you want to do this, Naruto? Jiraiya asked with concern. Definitely. I must at least be a Chunin by the time I return to Konoha. Speaking of which, after these exams, we need to start recording and documenting our missions. I don't want my application for the Jonin exams to be rejected because of lack of experience. Naruto said as they continued marching towards the gates of the Kumogakure no Sato. Your ambition to be Hokage, huh? You seem to be in far too much of a hurry these days. You've never had any doubt about your ambitions, but you've also never seemed to be in such a hurry. It always seemed like something that would happen someday, but the way you're moving right now, it's like it's something that you want to happen immediately. Jiraiya said curiously. My friend and rival has already been Cage for just over 12 months now. Let us just say, I have a little extra motivation. We don't know what the future holds, especially with the threat of Orochimaru and Akatsuki still lingering. The fact that Tsunade-sama might have to die for me to take over doesn't sit well with me, but if, Kami-sama forbid, it were to happen, I have to be ready to take the mantle. That was our promise, wasn't it? That she would hold the mantle until I'm ready. Naruto retorted. Are you sure that is all there is to it? Jiraiya asked suspiciously. All there is to it? You make it sound like my reasons are small. Have you forgotten that this is my lifelong ambition? Of course I want to be ready to seize it when the time comes. Naruto deadpanned. Jiraiya trailed off, seemingly unconvinced. Not that Naruto cared, of course, as the only people whose opinions he truly cared about were Tayuya and Fu-chan's, the only two people that he trusted without reservations, and vice versa. 5 minutes later. Good morning everyone, how are you? Naruto greeted politely. What the air you being nice to them for, dipshit? They're the enemy, we'll likely be fighting them in the exams. You ain't gotta say shit to them. Tayuya said brazenly, causing Naruto to fight hard to resist an audible sigh, the only thing stopping him being the fact that, in all honesty, he knew that he used to be just like her in the past, as he remembered his own outbursts and loud declarations in the last Chunin exams he entered. You have some nerve coming here, Yondaime Hokage no Gaki. A slim, beautiful girl with short black hair and pink eyes said, eyes which are accentuated by her eyelashes running upwards at the corners. She was wearing the standard attire of the Iowa nin, consisting of a red uniform with her right sleeve missing and a lapel over her right leg, fishnet tights and a skirt over them. She was also wearing regular shinobi sandals and a pair of gloves, and had a brown weapons pouch on her left leg with her forehead protector wrapped around her forehead. I knew this was a horrible idea. Jiraiya thought in a panic, looking at the shocked looks of everyone who was in hearing shot, looks which quickly turned to realization as Naruto's resemblance to the man left almost, if not in fact no doubt at all in their minds about the legitimacy of the Aiwa Kunoichi's statement. I'm guessing you must be the Sandaime Tsuchikage's granddaughter then. It's an honor to meet your acquaintance. I am Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto introduced himself as he extended his hand for a handshake, a hand that the Iwagakure Kunoichi rudely slapped away in disgust, much again, to the surprise of everyone, Jiraiya of course, more surprised by Naruto's lack of reaction at being called the Yondaime Hokage's son, as if the Aiwa Kunoichi had merely told him the weather forecast for the day. Actually, it's not just him. Neither of those girls seemed surprised. So not only did he know, but he told Fu and Tayuya of this, but didn't give any indication to me that he knew. And exactly how long has he known the truth anyway? Jiraiya thought suspiciously. Your father killed many of my people. You will pay for his sins. You made a mistake coming here, Namikaze Naruto. I know for a fact that Kumogakure carries almost as much of a grudge against your father as Chushigakure does. Your Hokage must be an imbecile for sending you here. The Iwagakure Kunoichi said malevolently, putting special emphasis on the name, Namikaze, as if to make sure that Naruto understands that she doesn't acknowledge Uzumaki as his name. Tayuya trailed off as Naruto quickly raised his right hand in the air, signaling for Tayuya to stay out of it and let him handle this himself, Tayuya gritting her teeth in anger but knowing better than to disobey Naruto's orders. Your animosity, while unjustified as I am not the one who killed your people, is however understandable, as my father's death means that you can never exact your revenge on him, not directly at least. Still, I do not think your lack of manners is justified. Don't allow your hate to drag your reputation through the mud. I greeted you with respect and introduced myself to you. I expect at least that much from you, even if you intend to kill me during the Chunin exams. Naruto replied calmly, the Aiwa Kunoichi's face turning red with anger, like she was a balloon about to explode. Ahem. Please forgive my daughter for her behavior. She is a passionate young woman. My name is Kitsuchi, the Jonin sensei of this team. This passionate young lady is Karatsuchi, my daughter. These are our teammates, Akatsuchi and Suzumaki. Kitsuchi said as he directed Naruto's gaze to Akatsuchi and Suzumaki, Naruto paying special attention to Suzumaki as he was quite honestly shocked by the amount of chakra she had. She has shoulder-length brown hair with a single lock falling onto the right side of her face and going over her right eye just a little bit. She has steel gray eyes with orange markings in the corner and she is wearing what appears to be an altered, purple kimono dress with red trimmings. There is a yellow sash around her waist and thigh-length stockings that are merged into her sandals and she also has very small eyebrows. Those are elite Uzumaki-level chakra reserves. Kuratsuchi has an abnormally large reserve of chakra too, but this one takes the cake. Naruto thought curiously, quite sure that they were not Jinchuriki, which made their abnormally large reserves quite a peculiar phenomenon. It's nice to meet you, Kitsuchi-san. As I already said, I am Uzumaki Naruto, and these are, of course, my teammates. The lady with the red hair is Tayuya, and the one with the green hair is Fu. The big man over here is my master and Jonin sensei, Jiraiya of the legendary Sannin. Naruto said much to the surprise of, well, everyone. Just as I thought. You may use the name Uzumaki, but all evidence points towards you being Namikaze Minato's son. Jiraiya of the Sannin is a legendary figure in the ninja world by his own right, but he is also known for being the mentor of the Yellow Flash. That he is your mentor too all but confirms it. Kitsuchi said with conviction. It's not like I was denying it. Naruto said with a shrug of the shoulders. Is he ignorant to the danger that his identity poses to him, or does he just not care? There is a thin line between confidence and arrogance, but which side of the line is he? Kitsuchi wondered. Che. You arrogant little. We'll see how confident you are when I hold your life in the palms of my hands. Kuretsuchi said angrily. You are within your rights to pursue that goal. After all, the Chunin exams are a substitution for war. It is how the status between the ninja villages in the elemental nations is determined, rather than trying to eradicate each other's entire villages and causing untold amounts of destruction and suffering. Given that it is a war substitution strategy, it is probably the only legitimate opportunity you will have to dispose of me. Naruto said as if he wasn't the one whose death was being talked about, almost as if providing emotional support for Kuretsuchi. You piece of shit. Are you mocking me, huh? Kuretsuchi exclaimed angrily. That's enough, Kuretsuchi. You've already made a major blunder by alerting your target of your intentions. Now he has time to prepare and plan for your ambush. You've completely taken away the element of surprise from the equation. You've made things unnecessarily difficult for both you and your teammates. You're a kunoichi, not some reckless street brawler. If you ever want to succeed father as the next Tsuchikage, you have to do better. Kitsuchi scolded his daughter harshly, Kuretsuchi's eyes widening in surprise when she realized what she did. You're right, father. I'm sorry everyone. Kuretsuchi apologized sincerely, Naruto raising an eyebrow as he didn't think that someone like her had that kind of maturity and humility. I know you're strong, you're our greatest military asset, everyone believes in you already, so you don't have to be in such a rush to prove yourself that you forget the fundamental principles of being a ninja. Kitsuchi further admonished. I know, you're right. But I swear on my life, I will not fail. I will get revenge for our people. Kuretsuchi said with fire in her eyes. Shouldn't it be we will get revenge for our people? You are in a team after all. Naruto asked rhetorically. Stop speaking to me like I'm your friend. It's not going to work. I'm going to kill you no matter how nice you try to act. I mean, we are going to kill you. Kuretsuchi said stubbornly. We shall see about that. Naruto trailed off as he was interrupted by a Kurigakure guy with an eye patch on his right eye. Pardon the interruption, but we couldn't help but notice the gigantic sword on your back. It looks very familiar. The man said with an unmistakable edge to his tone. I would have been surprised if you didn't recognize it, Ao-san of the Byakugan. It was after all, a Kurigakure heirloom. Naruto retorted, much to the surprise of Ao and his students. You know who I am. And about my Byakugan, how? Ao asked, surprised that a person so young knew him first of all, but even more so that he knew about his Byakugan. Zabuza sensei had extensive notes about you, and all of the high-ranking ninja of Kurigakure. Naruto dropped a bomb near the gates of Kumogakure. What? No way. That's bullshit. Zabuza-sama would have never taken on a foreign shinobi as an apprentice. He definitely would have never shared village secrets with you. One of Ao's students said angrily. He is a handsome teenager of average height, around Naruto's age. He has a fair complexion with short, messy, blonde hair that falls over the right side of his face and spiked up on the left his forehead, pink eyes and a marking with 3 points running down under his left eye. He is wearing black pants, a striped purple shirt, a green long-sleeved vest with a high collar, and black gloves. He also has a gray strapped forehead protector under his bangs and is carrying a large sword on his back that is actually forged from the water staff that his father, the late Yondaime Mizukage, used to carry the sword given the name water gun because of its water manipulation abilities. You'd be surprised. Being a missing ninja for well over half a decade can change someone, and, well, seeing your life flash in front of your eyes can change your perspective too. Naruto retorted to the blonde-haired kid's shock and confusion. By the way, who might you be? You look awfully familiar. In fact, you have a very strong resemblance to the Yondaime Mizukage. Naruto said suspiciously. I am Katarashi Kagura, and yes, I am the late Yondaime Mizukage's son. Kagura said with a mixture of emotions. Late Yondaime Mizukage, huh? I'm sorry for your loss. Naruto said somberly. Why would you be sorry for his loss? He was a vile man who killed his own people for the most stupid reason ever. Kagura said angrily. He was still your father though. I'm sure it couldn't have been easy for you. Naruto retorted, Kagura choosing to remain silent to that retort lest he say something that he was not supposed to say. He wanted so badly to tell Naruto that his father was a great man, that he only did those things because someone was controlling him with a powerful genjutsu. However, that information was an S-ranked secret that wasn't supposed to be disclosed under any circumstances, because it sent an even worse message than the one that was already out there about his father, the message being that the Yondaime Mizukage was weak kage who could be controlled by an enemy jutsu, which would likely weaken their position even more than it was already. Don't become distracted, Kagura. The real issue here is Namikaze Naruto's possession of the Kubikiribocho. Another teen said with a grave undertone. He is a teenager, also around the same age as Naruto, with chin-length purple hair which is parted in the middle. He also has red-colored eyes that were currently glowing, and he wore a light purple shirt with black stripes on each side, a sash around his waist, a pair of dark-colored pants and sandals. On his back were two dual swords, known as the Lightning Fangs, and a blue weapons pouch on his left leg. Okay. Look, he didn't exactly give it to me. We encountered him and his apprentice on a mission almost 3 years ago. He, was killed in battle by my then Jonin sensei, Hitaki Kakashi, and I defeated his apprentice, Yuki Haku. Haku and I were able to form a deep bond, a brotherly bond of sorts. We had met and become friends before we knew we're enemies, well, before I knew at least. Naruto said, pausing slightly before continuing on with his explanation. My chakra sensory skills were underdeveloped at the time, so even when we fought, I didn't realize it was him until I broke his Anbu mask. After finding out who he was, I couldn't kill him. I hesitated. Fortunately he couldn't kill me either. When Kakashi-sensei was about to kill Zabuza, Haku used his demonic crystal ice mirror technique to teleport to Zabuza and took the blow instead, but not before he gave me coordinates to his and Zabuza's hidden base. Naruto trailed off as he tried to suppress his emotions. Zabuza and I had an argument about Haku's death before he died. He said that Haku was a mere tool and that the fact he lost and died made him a defective tool. Needless to say, I was pissed off. In the end, he admitted that he loved Haku like a son, and shed tears for him. He managed to change and become a better person, in his last moments. That mission, it was my first mission outside of the village, and to this day, it is the mission that has had the largest impact on me. In Zabuza and Haku's hideout, I found a lot of things, his personal bingo book, their jutsu scrolls and ninja tactics. Haku must have wanted me to find them, and to learn from them. So I did, and I carry this sword in honor of the both of them. Naruto concluded his explanation, everyone, including Jiraiya, shocked into silence by Naruto's story, well, except for Fu and Tayuya, who already knew everything about him. But they were foreign shinobi. Not only that, but they were enemies who legitimately tried to kill you and your teammates. How can you honor them as if they were your family? The third genin member of the team asked, stuttering nervously as he spoke, making Naruto think that he was like a male version of Hinata. He is also around Naruto's age, with short, tufty blue hair, and dark eyes. He also has pointed, shark-like teeth, a common trait of the members of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist as well as apprentices share. He wears square, black-rimmed glasses connected to ear protectors, a blue pin-striped shirt and camouflage pattern pants. He wears his forehead protector on the front of his holster, which he uses to carry Haramakare, a gigantic sword that can function both as a dual sword and a double-edged sword depending on how you connect it. It also known as the chakra sword, and the sword itself is wrapped in bandages leaving only the double hilt visible. He also has shuriken holsters strapped onto each of his legs. Before I met Tayuya-chan and Fu-chan, they were, despite being my enemies, the people I formed the strongest bond ever with. I consider Haku to be the brother I never had, and I have a great deal of respect for Zabuza Dono. As I said before, they had a monumental impact on who I am now and even my combat abilities. Naruto said unapologetically. Quote, you still need to give us back the sword, it belongs to Kurigakure. As much respect as I have for Zabuza-sama, it doesn't change the fact that the sword did not belong to him. So even if his apprentice gave it to you, it means nothing. He had no right to give it to you. Kagura said gravely. The custom of claiming spoils of war is recognized by every single ninja village in the elemental nations. Zabuza was legitimately defeated by my Jonin-sensei, and I defeated his apprentice. I have a legitimate claim to his sword. Naruto retorted. You're already being hunted by the Tsushigakure contingent, are you sure you want to be hunted by us too? Because that is what will happen to you if you do not give us back the sword. The guy with the glowing eyes said. Who are you again? Naruto asked curiously, seemingly ignoring the guy's warning to him. Bishiteki Renmara of the Fuingen. The guy on my right is Chojuro. The kid with glowing eyes, now identified as Renmara, replied. Nice to meet you. No, I will not be handing over the sword, but I will put it into consideration. I shall have an answer for you at the end of the exams, and if I do give it back, it would be at a monetary price. So maybe you should contact the Godime Mizukage and ask him how much he is willing to offer. Ao corrected. Excuse me, Naruto asked curiously. Ask her how much she is willing to offer. Ao corrected. I see. So 2 of the 5 Kage are females. This is unprecedented, though it should do wonders for the morale of all kunoichi in the elemental nations. Naruto retorted. Yes it will, but there is no need for us to contact Mizukage-sama. We will retrieve that sword at any cost. Kagura said uncompromisingly. Looking forward to it, I guess. Naruto said, resisting the urge to sigh out loud. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea after all, coming to Kumogakure for the Chunin exams. 2 days later. Knock knock knock. Coming. Naruto said as he went to the door. You're supposed to ask who it is, fool. Jiraiya said incredulously. I know who it is, it's the Nibi Jinchuriki. Naruto said as he reached the door, Jiraiya having to remind himself that Naruto was apparently their ultimate sensor-type ninja, although that really didn't help the situation because it now begged the question of why the hell the Nibi Jinchuriki would be sent to their room, and so early in the morning too, but it was too little too late as Naruto had already opened the door before Jiraiya could mount a protest. Good morning, Namikaze-san. The beautiful, angelic beauty on the other side of the door greeted, Naruto looking at her with awe as he couldn't believe how beautiful she was. She has long, straight, blonde, hair bound with taut bandages, dark eyes and is also wearing red lipstick. She is wearing a short-sleeved black and purple blouse and black pants, both of which have a design similar to clouds on them, purple fingerless gloves and a chain of blue beads wound around her left hand. She also is wearing the standard Kumogakure forehead protector, sandals and a kunai holster, which is strapped to her right thigh, and there are bandages around her arms and legs as well as a red belt around her waist. Good morning, ni Yugito, Jonin of Kumogakure no Sato. The woman, now known as Yugito, greeted professionally. Nice to meet your acquaintance. So, how may I help you? Naruto asked politely. It is customary to invite a guest in and not leave them standing at the door. Yugito deadpanned. Yeah, please come in. Naruto said as he moved out of the way, allowing Yugito to enter his and Jiraiya's hotel room. You can sit on my bed. Naruto said as he gestured towards his bed, which thankfully, unlike Jiraiya's, was already neatly made and folded. It's quite alright, I won't be staying long. Yugito said as she looked around the room before turning back to Naruto, acting as if Jiraiya was not even there despite the fact that she had just recently chastised Naruto about his lack of manners. Reikage-sama sent me to demand you hand over a more appropriate picture of you. The picture on your genin license is outdated and quite frankly, ridiculous. Yugito said with authority, Naruto scratching the back of his head sheepishly as he remembered exactly what he looked like on the picture, literally like a total clown. Hey, I was a bit of an attention seeker back then. I assure you, I have grown considerably more mature since then. Naruto said as he extended his right hand, with a poof of smoke, a recent photo of him appearing on the palm of his hand. This is more than adequate. Thank you for your cooperation, Namikaze-san. Yugito said as she took the photo into her hand. My pleasure. Anyway, we were about to get the girls from the opposite room and go out for breakfast. Would you like to join us? Naruto asked warmly, Yugito giving him a soul-searching stare that lasted quite a bit longer than was comfortable for Naruto, searching the blonde Uzumaki for any signs of deception only to find none whatsoever. Quote, quote. Thank you for the kind offer Namikaze-san, but I have already eaten. Yugito deadpanned. Okay. Well, thanks for stopping by. It's not often I get to meet others like me. If possible, I would like for us to become friends. I don't know how they treat Jinchuriki around here, but I wasn't treated so well growing up. Making friends was extremely difficult, borderline impossible really. Naruto said openly, Yugito fixing him with another soul-searching stare before finally relenting. I understand your pain. It can be quite difficult to make friends. Nevertheless, you are from an enemy village, making friends with you would only make things unnecessarily difficult for us in the event our respective villages went to war with each other. I'd rather avoid compromising myself like that, and so should you. Yugito said logically. Yeah, may have a point, it would be morally compromising. Nevertheless, there is no guarantee that our respective villages will go to war in our generation, so I would rather not live my life with ifs, coulds, and woulds. Therefore, my offer still stands. Naruto retorted. Quote, quote. Tell you what, Namikaze-san, survive your Jonin exam tomorrow, and I will accept your offer of friendship. Yugito said with a mysterious tone. I think you mean my Chunin exam tomorrow, and isn't the first exam a written exam? Surviving is a rather easy goal all things considered, don't you think? Naruto asked, confused. Chunin exam, yes of course, that's what I meant. Yugito said, Again Naruto getting a weird feeling from her. What's going on exactly? Naruto asked suspiciously. I must report back to Lord Raikage. Good luck for your exam tomorrow, you're going to need it. Yugito said dismissively, making a relatively quick exit as she didn't even wait for Naruto to respond before she was already gone. Quote, you look troubled, don't have as much game as you thought, huh? Well, don't worry, my apprentice, some are a little harder than others. Sometimes you need to stick it out. That is an amazing beauty, trust me, she'll be worth the effort. Jiraiya said with a lecherous tone. That's not it. When I corrected her about the Chunin exam, she said that she meant to say Chunin exam instead of Jonin exam. However, she lied, which means that she actually meant to say Jonin exam. But why would she have meant to say that when we are in fact here for the Chunin exams? Naruto pondered out loud. What? That's impossible. Jonin exams are taken internally. You must be mistaken. How do you even know that she was lying? Jiraiya asked incredulously. A master chakra sensor can discern lies from truth by analyzing the chakra fluctuations of someone, but more than that, I have the unique ability to sense negative emotions, which makes it even easier for me to identify when someone is lying. Naruto replied, once again shocking Jiraiya for like the millionth time since they were reunited. At this point I don't even know what to say about your sensory skills except to ask if you are absolutely positive about your readings. Jiraiya asked warily. I am. Besides, didn't it sound ominous to you, the way she said I was going to need all the luck I can get for tomorrow's exam? Naruto asked rhetorically. She also called you by the Yondaime Hokage's surname, which means that the Raikage thinks that you are, related to the Yondaime Hokage. From what I know, he was the Yondaime Hokage's arch-rival. He considered himself the fastest ninja in the shinobi world, until he met the Yellow Flash in battle, that is. Jiraiya replied, lamely, still trying to feign ignorance to the fact that Naruto was his late student's son. So whatever surprise he has for me, also has a convenient reward system. If I get through whatever test he has, I get an instant Jonin promotion. That is the bait, I suppose, to insensitivize me to participate in whatever facade he has planned out for me. Naruto thought out loud. You can't possibly be considering this. Don't be a fool. Whatever it is that the Raikage has planned for you, it's definitely a trap. Jiraiya said angrily. Obviously, but it's also an opportunity. You cannot gain anything of real value if you're not willing to put your life on the line for it. Besides, the reward is worth the risk. Naruto said elatedly. I won't allow it. I forbid you from taking part in the exam tomorrow. We're leaving, effective immediately. Jiraiya said uncompromisingly. Who's the naive one now? Do you really think that Lord Raikage will allow us to just leave like that? I scanned the entire village as soon as I noticed Yugito Dono acting weird. There are 11 times more shinobi on village border patrol than there was yesterday, and 4 times the number of chakra sensor types as there were yesterday. He has put the village on lockdown, which means that he isn't giving me a choice of whether I want to participate or not, and he definitely isn't giving me the choice to just up and leave before the exam tomorrow. Naruto replied casually. Now come, let's go get some breakfast. Naruto said as if it was just a normal, warm and sunny day. You go ahead, I'm going to pay the Raikage a little visit and give him a piece of my. Jiraiya trailed off as Fu and Tayuya barged into their room unannounced. You filthy wankers better come outside now. You won't believe this. Tayuya exclaimed frantically. Come quickly, Naruto-kun. This is terrible. I mean, it's freaking exciting, but it's also terrible, I think. Fu exclaimed incoherently, Naruto and Jiraiya both looking at each other with confused facial expressions before nodding together at the same time. Lead the way. 2 minutes later. Streets of Kumogaku no Sato. So that's why Yugito wanted an updated picture of me. I must say though, they work pretty damn fast. I mean, it was not even 10 minutes ago that I gave her my picture. Naruto said, impressed. Must be some kind jutsu. It's possible the posters were already up, just hidden via genjutsu. And maybe there was a jutsu they used to switch the old picture with the new one before they released the genjutsu. Tayuya deduced without using a single swear word. Probably. Hee. Kuratsuchi must be seething right now. Naruto laughed amusedly. Right. That herpes-infested mouth of hers must be spewing an endless supply of diarrhea right this moment. Serves the bitch right. Tayuya said in agreement. The Kiri swordsman won't be happy either. Fu laughed with satisfaction. Are you snot-nosed little brat stupid or something? You don't see this for what it is. Does it need to be spelled out for you? This isn't no exam, this is a public execution, at the very least a public assassination. You're being put on the chopping block. Jiraiya said incredulously, unable to believe the sheer magnitude of his godson stupidly as he looked with horror at the large posters that were hung all over the village, posters advertising tomorrow's spectacle, a Jonin exam at the Storm Cloud Arena, where 3 one-on-one battles were to take place, between Namikaze Naruto, son of the Yellow Flash, and Yatsuki, the Raikage, and 2 other battles between Naruto's teammates Uzumaki Tayuya and Seven Tails Jinchuriki Fu against the Raikage's bodyguards and tag team partners, C and Yatsuki Darui respectively. Of course it is. However, that doesn't mean we have to play along with the script that's written for us. We've got our own script in mind. Naruto retorted confidently. Hey, I can't wait. I wonder what abilities Yatsuki Darui has. I can't wait to fight him. Fu said excitedly. I don't know about that, but lightning style and insane speed are guaranteed to be involved somehow. These guys aren't just the Raikage's elite guard, they're also his tag team partners. Do you know how fast you have to be able to pull off tag team moves with the fastest man in the world? Naruto asked rhetorically. Sugoi. This is going to be so fun. Fu exclaimed excitedly. Hey, I dunno, this C guy looks like a weak faggot to me. I'm going to fold him up like the weak, submissive little twink that he is. Tayuya said confidently. Confidence is good, but don't underestimate anyone, especially, as previously mentioned, the Raikage's elite tag team partners. Naruto deadpanned. I know dipshit. I was just saying he looks like a faggot twink, that's all. Tayuya retorted, Naruto rolling his eyes as he wondered why he even bothered at this point. Alright, whatever. Let's go get some breakfast then. Naruto retorted. Wait, why didn't you tell me that Tayuya was an Uzumaki? Jiraiya asked suspiciously. I didn't tell anyone. Lord Raikage must have one seriously keen eye to have discerned that on his own. Honestly, I'm not surprised at this point. Nothing will ever surprise me again after this. Naruto replied. Yeah, and stop being a hypocrite, you perverted, deadbeat, pathetic excuse for a godfather. Tayuya exclaimed angrily, Jiraiya's eyes widening in surprise as he didn't know Naruto knew that much. Forget about it, sensei. Let's just have ourselves a nice breakfast and spend the rest of the day planning our escape. I'm not naive enough to believe we will leave Kumogaku no Sato without incident even if we win tomorrow. We need to have an exit strategy. Naruto said, unbothered. Why you do that so long? I need to give the Raikage a piece of my mind. I'll see you at lunchtime. Jiraiya said as he turned and started walking away with purpose in his step, without even waiting for a response from Naruto. Dude would rather face off against Lord Raikage than own up to his wrongdoings. Crazy. Fu thought with childlike awe and wonder. He hasn't even acknowledged that dipshit is the son of the Yellow Flash. Piece of shit pervert is in denial. Tayuya retorted. None of that matters. What matters is that tomorrow, no matter what, we ain't leaving Kumogakure without a Jonin promotion. Naruto said positively. Still can't believe Lord Raikage postponed the Chunin exams just for this. He must have desperately wanted a somewhat legal and legitimate excuse to kill you, Naruto-kun. Fu said with a little bit of concern, even though the other half of her was confident in Naruto's victory and honestly excited to see the fight between him and Lord Raikage. Yeah, they even put on a nice touch with all the examinees have to do is survive for 10 minutes against the Raikage and his elite guards. Che, as if surviving 10 minutes against the allegedly fastest trio of shinobi in the world is something just anyone can do. Tayuya said, pissed by the Raikage's devious mechanizations. He thinks he is setting us up, but this actually makes things easier for us because we don't even have to win to get promoted, just make sure we're still standing at the 10-minute mark. Naruto retorted. He. So true. That's what he gets for planning a diabolical scheme without getting enough information on his targets. Fu said jovially. Sisht. At least I ain't gotta be a genin for much longer. I think I was seriously going to lose my mind at having to remind myself that I have been demoted to a rookie position. Anyway, let's get out of the streets. These piece of shit Kumogakurians keep staring at us like we're some kind of circus show. Tayuya said irritably. Kumogakurians. Ha ha ha. I don't think I've ever heard such a term before. But I like it. Kumogakurians. Ha ha ha. Fu laughed hysterically, inevitably causing more people to give them the evil eye, much to both Naruto's amusement and chagrin, the blonde Uzumaki feeling like laughing alongside her whilst at the same time feeling like chastising her, which was honestly his everyday life with Tayuya and Fu. Nevertheless, the trio taking Tayuya's advice and vacating the streets before they got themselves into an incident. Following day, Storm Cloud's arena. The place was buzzing. In fact, not just the stadium, but the whole of Kumogakure had been buzzing since the previous evening, especially with the Raikage's brother, the eight-tailed Jinchuriki, leading a rap parade all around the village all night long until morning. Everyone was excited, but most of all, everyone seemed extremely confident in the Raikage and the elite guard. Naruto had used a shadow clone and a henge to infiltrate the crowd so that he can gather some information, and had found out that the Raikage and his brother were undefeated since the Yellow Flash passed away, and had been undefeated before they encountered him as well. He also learned that they weren't the only ones, as the two-tailed Jinchuriki, Yugito, and the Raikage's tag team partners were also undefeated. Another thing he learned was that they were all, supposedly, speed demons. Naruto wasn't surprised as he had already surmised that C and Darui had to be speed demons in order to be the Raikage tag team partners. It was also obvious as far as the 8 and 2 tails Jinchuriki. After all, Naruto knew all too well the speed boost one can get from both version 1 and version 2 tailed beast modes. The Raikage's brother, Killer Bee, was a perfect Jinchuriki Naruto had found out, and Ni Yugito apparently was very close to completely subduing her Biju too, which meant, of course, that they were incredibly fast because that meant that they were more than capable of using version 1 and version 2 tailed beast states. Nevertheless, Naruto did not have to worry about them, for now at least. Assuming both his beloved, secret wives actually won and/or survived their respective battles, he might have to worry about the two Jinchuriki only when he and his team try to leave the village, because if the Raikage had no intention of letting them leave, then Naruto might end up having to fight at least one of the Jinchuriki. Ha ha ha. You know, I was really pissed off when I saw the posters all over the village. I hated how Lord Raikage took my people's vengeance right from under our noses. However, I've come around since then. You see, now I get to watch you, from a comfortable position, getting crushed into minced meat by Lord Raikage. The only thing that could have been better would be to watch Tsuchikage-sama dismantle your body into tiny, invisible molecules. Kuretsuchi said maliciously, Naruto resisting the urge to roll his eyes at the Raikage's persistence in making his life miserable. For a guy that Naruto had never met before, the guy sure had it out for him, going as far as designating for him and his team seating positions that were smack in the middle of both the Kiri and the Tsuchi teams, the very teams that declared their intentions to kill him and his team when they arrived. The gate guards must have reported what happened and Lord Raikage decided to use it to unsettle us. Seriously, the guy has no shame. Naruto thought irritably. If you don't shut your big mouth, a giant wasp is going to fly in there and sting your insides. Naruto retorted. Ha, is that the best you've got? Idiot. Is that what you want your last words to be? You know you're going to die, right? This whole thing is a ruse for Lord Raikage to legitimately and legally assassinate you and your friends. Jonin promotion my foot. Kuretsuchi said with a sinister glint in her eyes. Maybe I'll just assassinate Lord Raikage instead. Did you consider that, huh? Naruto retorted. Ha, yeah right. Even your father couldn't kill him. Sure, your father beat him, no one is disputing that, but even defeated, Lord Raikage is an extremely difficult man to kill, his skin is impregnable. Nothing can cut through him, and his resistance to blunt force trauma is quite frankly inhuman. Killing him takes a special kind of talent, a talent that you don't have, idiot. Kuretsuchi said condescendingly. Seems like your father and grandfather have educated you a lot. You know your stuff, I must say. However, you don't know what I and my team are capable of, so I wouldn't speak so soon if I were you. Naruto retorted. Che. Baka 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 baka. Kuretsuchi said as she slapped Naruto at the top of the head 5 times, Naruto giving her a withering look because of her actions, a look that Kuretsuchi completely ignored as she continued to berate the blonde Uzumaki. No one is going to let you leave even if you were to win, idiot. Not that it's possible, but rather I should say, no one would let you leave especially if you won. They would make sure you died here. Why do you think the village has been placed under lockdown? Kuretsuchi said with way too much joy and happiness in her tone. Why? She really hates the Yondaime Hokage's son. I mean, I don't like him either, but this is just plain ridiculous. She's taking it way too far. Kagura said incredulously. She's taking advantage of the situation. She knows he can't do anything about it, not here, with so many people to get caught in the crossfire, and with his fight against Lord Raikage coming up. He'd be a fool to react to her taunting, but in that same breath, I can't imagine how humiliating this feels for him. Ao retorted. I would have slapped the shit out of her. If he can't do anything about her abuse, then doesn't that mean she can't do anything about his reverse abuse either? Kagura retorted. In principle, yes, but who knows how she might react. She seems like a rather reckless and impulsive type of person, especially given her notorious hate for Namikaze Naruto. Things could escalate very quickly if he retaliated, and most likely, he would be blamed for all of it. Ao retorted. Wow, I think I might actually be starting to feel bad for the guy. Renmara said as he listened to Kuretsuchi continue to abuse the Konoha genin, and also realized that the Nanabe Jinchuriki was barely holding herself together because if looks alone could kill, Kuratsuchi would have been obliterated by now. It's a good thing the redhead's fight is first on the schedule. If she were up here instead of the green-haired one, I don't think this matter could have been kept civil at all. She seems like she is even more rowdy than Kuratsuchi. Kagura said with relief. True. Let us hope she loses, or at least needs medical attention after her battle, because if she comes up here and Kuratsuchi is still acting like this, it will spell disaster. Ao retorted. The battle is about to begin. Chojuro said as he pointed down at the battleground, to Yuya coming out to loud boos all around the stadium, said boos turning into even louder cheers when C came out, sections of the crowd chanting the words Godspeed all around the stadium as C waved theatrically at the fans. C is a young man, slightly older than Naruto, with dark eyes and short, blonde hair which he is wearing parted in the front. He is wearing the standard attire of the Kumo Nin, a sleeveless, black shirt with a one strap over one shoulder, white flak jacket, black forehead protector, characteristic black, elbow-length arm guards, and the red and white Kumogakure shin guards along with a pair of sandals. On his back he also has a sword strapped to his back, which is typical of a Kumo shinobi, as most Kumo ninja are kenjutsu practitioners. Down at the arena, piece of shit faggot. I will end your career. You won't have a single fan after I publicly fold your Twinkie. Yuya thought maliciously. That was of course, until she remembered Naruto's instructions not to kill her opponent if it was possible to win without killing him. Damn it. Screw that. I don't know how to fight any other way. I'm not gonna risk my life just to avoid angering these Kumogakure snowflakes. Yuya thought rebelliously. Good morning, Uzumaki Yuya. I am Dodai, and I will be the referee in these examinations. You will fight until one of you dies or until one of you cannot fight any longer. If neither of those results come to pass within 10 minutes, you will automatically become the winner and consequently, be promoted to the rank of Jonin. There are no rules, you can lie, cheat, deceive, and do whatever is necessary to win. Good luck. Dodai said as he signaled to the stands, 4 Anbu shinobi taking positions in the 4 cardinal points around the fighting arena and going through a set of hand seals before activating a translucent barrier around the battlefield. This barrier is meant to prevent your battle from having an impact on the stands, as there are a lot of civilians in the arena. Dodai explained for Yuya's sake. Fine, whatever. Let's get this show on the road already. Yuya said impatiently. Very well. Jonin exam battle between Uzumaki Yuya of Konohagakure no Sato and C of Kumogakure no Sato, commence. Dodai said as he jumped as far away as possible, C not wasting any time whatsoever as he pulled out his sword from his back, infused it with a lightning stream, and came at Yuya with crazy speed that most shinobi couldn't even follow, much less the civilians. However, to C's surprise, Yuya was able to block his attack with an invisible sword that she manifested from her flute, apparently using the flute as the handle of the sword, the impact causing the release of a weird sound that wasn't typical of what one would expect in a clash of swords. Piece of shit. You actually think you're faster than me? Yuya said angrily, successfully overpowering her opponent and then switching gears as she went on the attack, using some crazy, super fast and agile maneuvers as she tried to slice her opponent into pieces, pushing C on the back foot as everyone who was watching marveled at not only her speed but also her skills, as they didn't expect her to have C on the defensive. Of course, part of the reason for that might have had to do with the fact that she was using an invisible sword. Without knowing the size or length of the sword, no one could quite figure out how the hell C was even able to block the attacks in the first place, nor how exactly Yuya was using an invisible sword to begin with. However, As the battle progressed, it became increasingly clear that C himself was just barely able to keep up with the speed and especially the invisible sword as he started to get nicks and cuts here and there, the frequency of the cuts and the nicks increasing as the battle went on, Tayuya's advantage becoming more and more pronounced as the battle continued. Damn it! What a ridiculously unfair technique. If I wasn't a sensor type I'd be dead already. But still, being able to sense a sword and being able to see it are two different things, and moreover, she keeps changing the length and overall size of the sword every time I think I have it figured out. I have to change tactics. C thought as he decided to retreat and establish some distance, otherwise he was going to lose at this rate. Hey, retreating are we? I knew you were just a weak bitch. Tayuya said mockingly. Dead silence in the arena as everyone couldn't believe that this genin was actually not only holding her own against the Raikage's tag team partner but was actually pushing him back. In fact, right now, she was the only one to have drawn blood as C hadn't landed a single hit on her, whereas she had landed multiple hits on him, albeit in non-lethal areas. Lightning illusion. Flash pillar. C said, ignoring Tayuya's taunts as he went into a set of hand seals before calling out the name of his jutsu, which was basically like a jutsu version of a flash grenade, releasing a blinding white light from all over his body. Of course, this was the trick of the technique, as it was meant to make the victim believe that the jutsu only served to blind them, whereas it actually marked the activation of a genjutsu. The genjutsu wasn't that hard to dispel if you knew you were caught in it, but what made it such a difficult genjutsu to dispel was the fact that the victim didn't even realize that a genjutsu had been activated. In any case, C didn't waste any time as he once again rushed head-on at his opponent, which of course proved to be a mistake on his part as, just before he reached her and sliced her head off while she was busy covering her eyes, he found himself wrapped up in vines that came out of nowhere, the vines constricting his body to such an extent that he couldn't even move a muscle. What the hell? What's going on? C asked, confused. Did she somehow reverse the genjutsu I placed on her? Impossible. The activation sequence and my attack were executed almost simultaneously. She wouldn't have had time to break it, much less reverse it. C thought incredulously. Nice try, jackass. First off, I'm immune to genjutsu courteously of Uzumaki clan sealing and barrier ninjutsu. Secondly, you've been in my genjutsu from the beginning of this battle, and that genjutsu has been reinforced every single time that our swords clashed against each other. By my calculations, I missed you completely about 11 times, I cut you 17 times, and our swords clashed about 31 times. That means that my genjutsu has been reinforced 30 times over. You'll never break it, dumb. Tayuya said with a sadistic smirk on her facial features. I knew there was something weird about the sound her invisible sword released upon impact, but I never imagined it was something like this. What an incredible master of jutsu. Is this really a genin? C thought in disbelief. Now that you know your place. Time for you to yield and concede defeat. If you don't, I will make sure your death is slow and painful. I will strip you and shove my invisible sword flute deep in your faggot little. Tayuya said morbidly, causing everyone in the crowd to wince and cringe at the image that Tayuya was painting. You are incredible, honestly, I find it hard to believe you're a mere genin. It has to be a lie. Ain't no genin can do the things you've done here today. C said disbelievingly. Nah, you Kumogakure faggots are just weak, that's all. Now are you gonna yield or what, shit brain? I'm trying very hard not to start an incident by killing you, in case you haven't noticed. Tayuya said irritably. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to decline your offer. I don't like losing to anyone, but I especially don't like the idea of losing to a girl. C said mockingly. Why, you little? Tayuya exclaimed angrily, swinging her invisible sword hard and fast as she attempted to decapitate her nemesis, surprised when she didn't make contact at all as C completely evaded her attack, moving at a speed much, much greater than before. What the actual? How the hell did you move, you stupid gobbling twink? Tayuya asked incredulously. Lightning release. Synaptic integration. C said with a serious tone of voice, Tayuya able to see lightning sparks traveling up and down all over C's body as realization dawned on her. His chakra frequencies have just shot through the roof. It's like the speed that his chakra is moving through the chakra coils has increased exponentially. So this is his hyper speed technique. Impressive, but two can play that game. Tayuya thought as she activated her own jutsu, just to make sure that she didn't find herself in the afterlife before she knew what the hell just happened. I see now. You stimulated your neural synapses with your lightning style in order to break out of my jutsu, and you're probably immune to genjutsu as long as that jutsu is active. I won't be able to catch you with my genjutsu again, but you're a fool if you think that changes anything. I'm still gonna win this battle. Tayuya said confidently. We'll see, C began to say as he suddenly appeared behind Tayuya. About that, he finished as he swung his sword at her neck area, wanting to end the fight as quickly as possible. However, much to his surprise, Tayuya was no longer there when his sword made contact. His sword passing though what appeared to be an after-image as a sonic boom reverberated in the battle arena, Tayuya appearing behind him and executing the exact same move that he just tried to use on her, and making contact too, albeit not completely as C managed to minimize the damage, able to just barely get away with his neck still intact, not without sustaining damage though as there was blood gushing out of his neck. Thankfully, he was a medical ninja too, as he quickly used the Mystique Palm technique to stop the bleeding completely and close the wound before it became fatal, showing incredible medical prowess to be able to heal himself that fast. He healed himself in an instant. I see. The increased chakra frequency from the electrical stimulation also results in a boost in his ninjutsu prowess. He couldn't have healed himself that fast if not for this jutsu. So in a way, it can also act as a supplementary ninjutsu. Tayuya thought analytically. You actually managed to dodge my attack even when I was using Sonito. Damn, you're really something else, for a bitch faggot at least. Tayuya said, C choosing to ignore Tayuya's homophobic insults, made easier he supposed by the fact that he wasn't actually a, even though he still thought that her insults were in bad taste. And you are just full of surprises, aren't you? Who would have thought that you could use your vibration release to increase the speed and frequency of your chakra, and to use your sound release to enhance your shunshin? I suppose this is my fault for underestimate you. You're the teammate of the Yellow Flash's son, of course you would be fast yourself. C said as he, to Tayuya's surprise, increased the frequencies in his chakra exponentially, again, so much so that there was a clear shroud of electricity surrounding his body and his hair was standing up and facing upwards. Lightning release. Godspeed technique. C said with a calm and focused tone of voice, but also cold and unfeeling, like a true, merciless killer. HN. He's finally taking me seriously, I see. Good for him, I guess. Tayuya thought excitedly, the crowd once again chanting the words Godspeed repeatedly. So that's what the chant meant earlier. Godspeed C, huh? It's a fitting name, I guess. Tayuya thought, immediately having to dodge a straight thrust from C, using sound release, Sonito to evade to the right only for C to quickly turn with her and follow up on the attack, Tayuya having no choice but to block with her invisible sword. Tem. Tayuya cursed, realizing how insane her opponent's reflexes were for him to have turned with her like that, almost as if he knew beforehand exactly which side she was going to turn. I won't let you get Awa. C trailed off as he was stabbed from the back all the way through his abdomen, by an invisible sword, his eyes wide in surprise and widening further as Tayuya used the moment of surprise to quickly break his right hand wrist, causing him to drop his sword unceremoniously on the ground, Tayuya following up by grabbing hold of him around the neck and squeezing tightly, using her vibration release to protect her hand from the lightning oscillations of C's jutsu. It was impressive how quickly you saw through the after image that my sonito leaves behind when I move at the speed of sound. However, you didn't know that I could use the residue sound release chakra to form the after image into a real sound release clone, did you? You ignored the after image because it wasn't a threat to you, but didn't know that, in an instant, it can turn into a life-ending threat. Tayuya said as she squeezed harder around C's neck, her clone also twisting the sword inside C's guts until the sharp ends were facing horizontally. You're in a vice grip you can't escape, and my clone is ready to pull the sound release, invisible sword horizontally across your stomach. Tap out now, or die for real this T. Tayuya trailed off as the buzzer sounded, indicating that the 10 minutes of allotted time had gone by and that the fight was effectively over without a winner. Although no one was under any illusions about who would have won the fight had there been more time, everyone stunned by the fact that Godspeed C had actually lost a fight for the first time in his life, against a freaking genin, albeit a ridiculously overpowered and skilled genin. By the skin of your teeth. Tayuya said as she dispelled her clone and unceremoniously dropped C on the ground, turning around and walking away as if without a care in the world, most of the crowd confused about how exactly C lost as the fight was way too fast for their eyes to comprehend, only able to see the end results of every move that was pulled and not exactly how they got from point A to point B. Back at the stands. Well, I guess that's one down. 2 more to go. Naruto said with a tone that was a little too happy, not directing his words at anyone in particular but everyone fully aware that the comment was meant to grate on Kuretsuchi's nerves. You Namikaze scum. That shit doesn't mean anything. As long as you lose and die a painful and horrible death, nothing else matters. Kuretsuchi said angrily. Well, I don't know about that. Seems like the gods favor us today. Naruto said jovially. Why you little? Kuretsuchi trailed off as she was interrupted by the loud voice of Fu. Well, looks like it's my turn, Naruto-kun. Aren't you going to give your beloved wife a good luck kiss? Fu exclaimed excitedly, everyone face-faulting at the wife part of her sentence, none more so than Jiraiya, who absolutely couldn't believe what he just heard. That's supposed to be a secret, dummy. Naruto said with a sigh. A pointless one. So what if people know that Yuya-chan and I are your wives? We're not some weak damsels in distress, we can protect ourselves. Fu retorted. Yes, you're strong, but that doesn't mean you should needlessly make yourselves targets. Naruto retorted. Wait a minute, you bastard. You're married to 2 women. Why, you womanizing piece of trash. I knew you were a sleazy bastard, but this really takes the cake. You don't just deserve to die, you deserve to burn in the hottest pits of hell. Kuretsuchi said angrily. Do you really have to turn everything about me into some evil diabolical plot? Naruto asked with a bored tone. You piece of shish. More importantly, Fu exclaimed before Kuretsuchi could spew more fecal matter from her mouth.